We are paying upwards of $10 for eggs, and chicken feed is causing our chickens not to lay at all. And mysteriously, egg farms are burning down all over the US. Follow me down the rabbit hole to learn about Chickengate. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the rabbit hole. I am Danny. As always, I'm here to walk you through this conspiracy theory journey. So, welcome. I don't know. I don't typically cover conspiracy theories like in the now. I mean, I do, but I don't, because I like to look back on conspiracy theories, and it's hard sometimes for me to cover conspiracy theories that are in the now because there's still so much information coming out that I don't really know everything. But this one is important because I've done the food shortages and the water shortages. Those were like in the now kind of episodes. But this one is Chickengate, and it's happening right now. You all know what I'm talking about, right? So, like I said, we're paying so much for eggs right now. When you go to the store and you see $9 for 18 eggs, you're like, why? Why am I paying this? I'm paying 50 cents. This is ridiculous. And then I'm like, well, I could sell my farm fresh eggs for $15 if that's the case. I'm just kidding. I just give them away. But do you remember back in July is when I released the food shortages episode, and I brought up the fact that there was an avian flu. In that episode, I asked questions about if the avian flu was even real, because I don't know, it just seems really weird that there's all these other things going on with all the other food shortages, and then the avian flu was like, oh, we're here. And then now they're still talking about the avian flu like it's still such a prevalent thing. And like, have we not gotten over it? Is it not like a regular flu where like, I don't know, we kind of like it moves on? Because I know back in December, into November, December, even into January a little bit, there was like a really bad like cold season right there for a while. But we haven't really talked about that bad cold season in a little while because it's kind of moved on. And yes, the chickens are still going to have the flu. If they have it, they're still going to have it. It's still going to move around, but they're not going to have to kill the chickens like they do. And back in July, I said this: more than 28 million laying hens have had to be killed due to the flu outbreak. And that's about 9% of the total flocks in the US. 9% is a lot of eggs. Don't get me wrong. And I went on to explain that in the other episode. 9% is a lot of eggs, it's a good percentage of eggs, but I just don't feel like it's to the extent that we're seeing. I don't know. Maybe it is, but that doesn't explain all the other things that are going on with this Chickengate conspiracy theory. And there's more chickens now. It's like 58 million chickens have had to die because of avian flu now. At the time it was 28 back in July. Here it is February. So it's a little bit more. It's like a lot more. But anyway, that's where we're at with the avian flu, or where we think we're at. I mean, I have sources that date all the way back to like May 5th of 2022 talking about birds that needed to be killed. So meaning that this had happened. I mean, if they're reporting it on May 5th, that the avian flu outbreak was getting really bad in April, let's say, last year. But the thing is, it takes about 16 to 18 weeks for new chicks to start laying. And they knew the shortage was coming if they're reporting on it almost a year ago. So that means the government, farmers knew about it, a bit before. They could have minimized the egg shortage by releasing a few less pallets than they would, so if they're going to release 20 pallets typically to each store, release 18. So keep those 2 extra pallets as reserve, right? We're going to feel the shortage, but we're not going to feel it to the extent that we're feeling it right now. You know what I'm saying? So they knew this was coming. But don't worry, this conspiracy theory goes deep. Of course, the avian flu outbreak is still among us. We still talk about it all the time. They say that it's being carried by wild birds, which it usually doesn't affect the wild birds, but this year it is, and it's spreading quickly among flocks. So this year, you're actually seeing the effects of this avian flu in the wild birds as well as the chickens, who it like affects extremely and spreads quickly. And if you were ever concerned, don't worry, because the CDC, which we as conspiracy nut jobs have come to trust and love, is following this flu very closely, and they say the virus poses low risk to people. Thank you, CDC. You made me feel so warm and fuzzy. Like, I really appreciate that they put that out, because wow, it really helped, I think. They do say that this outbreak is worse than the avian flu outbreak in 2015. But I didn't remember there being an avian flu outbreak in 2015. So I asked on my Instagram story just a couple of days ago, because I just don't remember the outbreak. I don't remember having an issue with egg prices or an egg shortage or anything like that. Granted, I was deployed for a couple of the months out of 2015, not the whole year, just like 2, maybe 3, I don't know, 2 or 3 months out of the year. But some of you guys do remember the outbreak, some of you don't. It's such a mixed bag. It did affect the Midwest a little bit more than it affected like the rest of the country. But I mean, again, there was 30 million in Iowa alone, chickens that had to be killed, 43 million birds, chickens and turkeys in 15 states that had to be killed. So it wasn't just chickens, it was chickens and turkeys. There was apparently a shortage on turkey for Thanksgiving that year. I mean, there's a shortage on turkey for Thanksgiving this year too, though. So I don't know, but we didn't see the shortages that we're seeing now then, because we would have remembered that. We would have remembered that the egg prices spiked to $10. We would have remembered that there was not eggs on the shelf, you know? Apparently, in the Midwest, eggs prices increased 120% between April 22nd and May 20th. So about a month worth of increased prices. But, I mean, we're well past a month into this egg crisis that we're seeing right now. And there doesn't seem to be an end in sight. But good news, everywhere you look, and I'm talking like mainstream media here, they are reporting that the egg prices are trending downwards. They do say that it will be a while until you see a dozen eggs for $150 again, but they're trending in the downward direction. I don't see that. I don't know. Are you guys seeing that the eggs are trending in a downward direction right now? Because I still see prices here in Colorado. I'm seeing egg prices at about $6 for a dozen or $9 for 18, unless you go to like a wholesale store like Sam's Club, Costco, something like that. Then you can get about a dozen for $6. Or excuse me, 2 dozen for $6. So obviously cheaper there. But I am seeing eggs back on the shelf. I'm not seeing the prices drop though. So did they just decide like, oh, well, we had this egg shortage where there weren't enough eggs and we had to raise up the prices for the eggs that there were, but we're just going to keep the prices really high because it seems that people will pay for them. Because that's exactly what it seems is going on. So fine, the avian flu is causing shortages of eggs. Cool. Then why are people's backyard chickens not laying anymore? So we've got this avian flu, right? And all these people at home, they're like, oh, my chickens are good. My chickens aren't sick, which is weird if they're saying like, keep your chickens inside because this avian flu is coming from wild birds. And I have wild birds around my property. My chickens aren't sick. My chickens aren't dying. And people all over that have chickens, their chickens aren't dying. Seems to only be affecting these like commercial chickens. So that's fishy in itself. But I've been seeing all over social media that people's chickens aren't laying. And this is everybody from hobby farmers to people that just have a couple chickens. You've got people that have had chickens in their family for years and years and years. And they're all of a sudden noticing that their chickens aren't laying. And they're taking to social media because they're like, is it me? Or like social media being TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, even Nextdoor. Like people are posting on Nextdoor, your chicken's laying, my chickens aren't laying, blah, 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 right? Back and forth. And then you have some people that are reporting or that are investigating. So they'll contact people that have chickens in all different states, trying to figure out. I read something somewhere, and I didn't put this in my show notes because I didn't think about it at the time. Somewhere they were saying that this guy talked to 26 people, I think, in all over the country. So in states, none of the 26 people that had chickens were in the same state. And about 8 of them said that they were still had layers, and everybody else said they didn't have laying chickens anymore. So again, that was just out of my head, so I don't have a source for that. I did see it somewhere, but I didn't write it down, so I apologize for that. Anyway, they are saying that the chickens aren't laying, but once they switch the chickens to like goat feed, then their chickens start laying again. And it's not just goat feed. Like, people are making their own feed at home. I have friends sending me TikTok hacks on how to keep my chickens laying because I don't have TikTok, and they're like, it's been such an issue, and I've tried all kinds of things. My chickens are still laying, by the way. I know I posted on Instagram, and I was going to update you. So when I just give them the feed, I still get about 1 egg a day when I give them the extra protein. And the protein that I give my chickens, like black soldier fly larva, that seems to be working really well. I gave them lentils. Somebody sent me this TikTok hack to give my chickens lentils, like sprouted lentils. And I have been doing that. They eat them. They love them. But I don't think it's really helping them lay, per se. I don't know. Maybe it is. But the black soldier fly larva is for sure helping because I get about 5 eggs a day when I give them that. Here's the deal, though. When I go to my farm store in town where I buy my feed, there's only a couple options of feed. So you have the Purina feed. You have the Nature Wise feed and the Country Companion. Nature Wise is Nutrina. So Nutrina owns Nature Wise feed, just so you know. That's what is at my store. I do not go to Tractor Supply, and what I've been hearing, what has been the rumblings, right, is that the Purina food and the Tractor Supply food is the food that's causing them not to lay. Now, if you've heard my episode about Nestle, then you already know how I feel about Purina food for my chickens. And this was before I ever did that episode. I went into because I've had chickens longer than this podcast. I went into the feed store and I looked around at my options. And there's not a lot of options at my feed store. And I've always gone with Country Companion. I don't know who makes it, but they do a good job. I've never once bought Purina. Never once. Because if you don't know, Purina has had many lawsuits about killing dogs. And it's mostly about dog food. I have not found any lawsuits about chicken food, but I don't trust the company. I don't trust Nestle at all. You should for sure listen to that episode, and you won't trust them either because they kill babies, they kill people, they kill dogs. They'll kill anybody for a profit.
Did you know that over 40% of Americans have a hard time swallowing pills? So when it's time to take your vitamins, large capsules and pills are out of the question. We know that gummy vitamins exist, but they're full of sugar, they get stuck in your teeth, and they only contain a fraction of the nutrients you need. Luckily, Easy Melts has discovered the ultimate vitamin sweet spot. Vitamins that melt in your mouth, taste like a treat, and are packed with nutrients ready for absorption, all without an ounce of sugar. For a limited time, Easy Melts is giving listeners a free 3-month supply of vitamin D3 with their first purchase. To claim your free D3 vitamins, visit try.easymelts.com/spring24. That's try.melts.com/spring24. Say goodbye to the old way of taking your vitamins and say hello to the easy way. Menopausal and perimenopausal women, listen up. It's time to take control of your health and comfort, and Winona is here to help. Winona is a telemedicine company for menopause care who believes that your symptoms are real, important, and deserve to be taken seriously. And for many women, this starts with hormone replacement therapy. Winona's HRT is made with plant-based, bioidentical hormones rather than synthetic ones, so it better aligns with your body to offer relief from hot flashes, weight gain, and other uncomfortable symptoms. 80% of women who use Winona find relief within just 90 days. So, what are you waiting for? Get started today. Visit buywinona.com today to start your free visit. With free shipping and the ability to pause or cancel at any time, your path to wellness has zero obligations. Use code SPRING24 at buywinona.com for 25% off your first treatment plan. That's BYWINONA.com for 25% off. Winona, menopause care made easy.
But I'm not trying to take my chances because whatever I'm feeding my chickens is what I'm feeding to my family. Because my chickens are laying, the nutrients that come from their food, it's going directly into my family. So I wasn't trying to take my chance with Purina. No way. Now, Nutrina is owned by the Cargill company. Both Cargill and Nutrina are focused on the farming community. As far as Country Companion goes, I haven't really been able to find who owns them. Although some areas they suggest it's Nutrina, but on the Nutrina website they're like, nope, we don't own Country Companion. So I don't know who owns them. I use Country Companion food, and this isn't a plug for them. I'm not sponsored by anybody. It's working for me. It's working for my chickens. But again, what I'm hearing is that it's the Purina food and the Tractor Supply food that's causing the chickens not to lay. So, we have the chicken food causing the chickens not to lay. We have this avian flu. But what you haven't really heard about, and I mean they're trying to report it, but it's not like mainstream news, right? Is that there are egg farms burning down all over the place. There are 128 farms that burned in 2022, many of which were egg producers. But just recently, on January 28th, an egg farm in Connecticut, Hillendale Farms, caught fire. It took 21 different firefighter departments and 8 hours to finally get this fire out and like under control and they can go. 8 hours on the scene. An estimated 100,000 hens were killed in the fire. Luckily, no employees were hurt in the incident though, so that's really good. But this farm is one of the top 5 egg producers in the country. They pride themselves on being I think they have like 20 million chickens or something. They pride themselves on being one of the top producers of eggs in our country, and the investigation into this fire is still ongoing, which it's been about a week. It's been over a week. It's been about 9 days now. They still have no idea what caused this fire. Not even an inkling. And if they do, they haven't released it. But the thing is, like, that's not even weird because last year with these 128 fires and they had food processing plants all over the place catching fire mysteriously, and they could never find a connection. They could never figure out what caused those fires. So the likelihood of them actually figuring out what caused this fire at Hillendale Farms, it's low. I don't think they'll ever release what actually caused the fire, even though they can figure it out. But like last year we had one of the bigger fires was the Wright County egg farm fire. I did report on that in the food shortages episode. I'm not trying to regurgitate all this information I've already given you. So I do want you to go listen to those episodes if you haven't heard them, but also if you don't want to, I'm trying to give you a little bit so you understand what I'm talking about. So in that fire, that farm, the Wright County farm, I can't remember what the name of the farm is. They sell more than 3 million eggs a day to large retailers, and they lost tens of thousands of birds in their fire. It was a pretty big fire as well. So these are some of the bigger fires at egg farms, but there have been a bunch of little fires. There's been producer fires. There's been all kinds of fires, which is weird. Like, why are things catching on fire? And don't get me wrong, things burn down all the time. I get that. I understand. It's just weird, especially when there's already an egg shortage, that there's going to be fires at places that produce a lot of eggs for our country. Here's something that you probably haven't heard of yet, though. I'm sure maybe as conspiracy theorists, you've heard of the Chickengate issues, right? And this is all part of Chickengate, that there's an egg shortage. We all know that people's chickens aren't laying. We all hear that. We get it. We understand that your chickens aren't laying. Change the food. We understand. We've potentially heard about the fires. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. That one's kind of lower on the scale. So I'm kind of starting like something we've all heard of, then something most of us have heard of, and then maybe we've heard of it. Here's something you probably haven't heard of. Do egg yolk antibodies neutralize COVID? Because a couple of years ago, actually 2 years ago, in January, and COVID was on the rise, everyone's freaking out about COVID. There was a study that suggested that egg yolks actually prevent you from getting COVID. This was published by the Journal of International Immunopharmacology in January of 2021. They were studying the neutralizing effects of the yolk on COVID, and they found significant neutralizing potency. They say, quote, "It might be a feasible tool for the prevention and control of ongoing COVID-19, end quote. Do you know when the virus or when the vaccine came out. It was approved for 16 and up, ages 16 and up, in August of 2021. And they tried everything, right? They tried to, and nobody knows about this study. Like, this study came out and nobody reported on it. Nobody talked about it. I don't remember anybody saying anything about it ever. There's actually a couple studies about it, but this one was probably like the most notable, that they're like, look, egg yolks from chickens they're going to help you. Just eat eggs. And I know you're going to say, well, yolk has cholesterol in it and I have high cholesterol. Well, watch your cholesterol. Absolutely. Do what's best for your health. But at the end of the day, if you're going to get COVID and die, eat an egg yolk, because it's stopping the binding process between like the COVID cell, I guess. I don't know what it is, but the cell and like the human cell, whatever's happening. I'm assuming that it's a cell. I'm no scientist here, but for whatever reason, the egg yolk stops the binding of COVID to the human particle, whatever particle it is, stops the binding. So that's like pretty significant. If you're eating eggs, especially really good eggs from your own chickens, that's going to really help you. And then they tried to push this vaccine so hard. They're like, oh, like, let's do vaccine lotteries. Everybody go get the vaccine. You know, they did everything. And then they're like, we're going to force you to get a vaccine. You're going to be fired from your job if you don't get the vaccine. All these things. And it was awful. It was so not good. Like, because you should have the right to get the vaccine or not get the vaccine. Whichever you want, you should choose. There shouldn't be vaccine lotteries. There's not vaccine lotteries for the flu. There's not vaccine lotteries for polio. Why are they pushing this so hard? What the heck is going on? Well, don't you worry, because then they're like avian flu. Farms have been catching on fire. People's chickens are not going to lay. And we're supposed to believe that all this is coincidental. Oh, okay. Yeah, we see what you're doing. We understand. And we have Bill Gates buying up farmland. And it's no secret where he lands on the spectrum of environmental issues, right? He's like, well, if I buy up the farmland because I have all this money, and then I'm going to invest in artificial meats. I'm going to invest in artificial eggs. Bet you didn't know that he's been investing in artificial eggs. He's been pushing artificial eggs. And he's a huge proponent of the vaccine. He once tweeted, quote, vaccines in our food supply solves the problem of vaccine hesitancy. So he's going to push for artificial eggs, push for artificial meats. We're going to burn down egg plants or egg farms, excuse me. We're going to change the food so people don't have eggs at home. We're going to make them so reliant on us. Then they're going to eat this artificial food and they're going to get the vaccine. Why do they want us to get the vaccine so bad? And I didn't mean to make this about COVID. This is about Chickengate, but it turned into about COVID, right? Because if we can prevent COVID or prevent all kinds of issues, eating eggs or just eating a well-balanced diet, right? Then why would you stop us? Why would they want us to get a vaccine, which is artificially made, instead of allowing us to heal our bodies naturally through the food that we're eating, which is the way that you should heal your body, by the way. You shouldn't heal your body by taking medicines, taking vaccines. And don't get me wrong, I have vaccines in my body. I was in the Navy. They vaccinated me from everything. I'm not vaccinated against COVID because I get to choose now that I'm not in the Navy whether I want to or not. And I don't trust a vaccine that's this new. And honestly, I'm glad that I didn't, for myself and my children, because people are dropping dead left and right. But at the end of the day, you're telling me that just eating my eggs every morning is going to stop COVID from binding with me. So I'm actually going to be healthier from eating eggs. But this is the thing, though. They're trying to stop us from eating well, from having good nutrients that come into our body. They have like organic. When you go to the grocery store, you have the organic option, you have just the regular option, and the price is notable. You can see that the price is huge. It's a huge difference. Like, and it seems it seems like not a huge difference because it's just a couple, like 50 cents or $1, and that doesn't seem like a lot of money. But once you add it up, it is. So you're making it harder for people to eat well, to live within their means, within a good budget, especially when you raise prices like this. People can't afford $10 eggs. People can't afford to pay $6 for eggs. People are barely affording the $1.50 for eggs because life is expensive. Why are they pushing fake food on us? Why are they pushing COVID vaccines on us? Why are they minimizing things that are going to be healthy for us in the future? What the heck are you guys trying to do? Because a people that is more reliant on the government is easier to control. Henry Kissinger, who was Klaus Schwab's mentor, once said, "Who controls the food supply controls the people. Who controls the energy can control whole continents. Who controls the money can control the world." So they're starting at the lowest end, right? Well, don't get me wrong. They already control the energy. We can put on solar panels, but we don't get that energy back. We don't just get to keep it. They take it back from us, right? So they're trying to control the food supply because they're trying to control us. And they're trying to get this whole one world thing, one world great reset thing that they're trying to do. So they have one type of money. They're going to try to change us from individual countries to a one world government. And I've talked about this over and over and over. If you don't believe that that's coming, why? I mean, there's no way you guys don't believe that that's coming. You're conspiracy theorists. You're listening to this because you're conspiracy theorists. It freaks me out, the amount that they control our food. So if you have the option, and I've said this before and I'm going to say it again, if you have the option, if you live somewhere where you can grow your own garden, where you can have your own chickens, where you can do your own food as much as you can, I highly suggest it. Even just like start making your own bread at home. It is more time consuming. It's more of a pain in the ass. I know that. But at the end of the day, you know exactly what's going into that bread. Making your pancakes in the morning from scratch instead of from the bag of Bisquick or whatever, now you know what's going into your food. You controlling your food a little bit more, you're taking back power. You're giving less power to them and you're having more power in your own hands. Guys, if this isn't an eye-opener, I don't know. It's really starting to freak me out. These things that they're trying to do. And it's in real time too. Like we're watching it unfold in front of us. The only thing we can do is what we can do, right? So taking care of our chickens, making sure our chickens at home are still laying, that we can get eggs. I have extra eggs. I give them to my friends because I have them and I want to make sure that everybody I know is well nourished. I don't know, guys. A lot of my mindset has been changing recently about the things that I'm intaking into my body and the things that I'm allowing my family to take into their body. I'm trying to take back control. Little by little, we are taking back control. I highly encourage you to do it as well. But until next time, my friends, stay skeptical, and I will see you all next week. Hey friends, The Rabbit Hole is an independent podcast with everything you hear done by me, Danny Mercy. I appreciate all of your support. Please rate and review wherever you're listening. If you want to follow us on Instagram, it's at rabbit.holepodcast. And thank you, Zakar Balaha, for our awesome intro.